Okay, hello everybody. My name is Brian Ponte. I am one of the Adobe Creative Cloud evangelists here at the University of Arizona. And today, after I hit share my screen, we'll jump into the topic that we're working with. So today we're going to be talking about some XD tips and tricks. We will kind of start from the beginning and have just a real quick baseline of how XD works, but then basically we'll jump through a couple of different sections and show you how to do certain actions inside of XD. We'll break them down here in a minute. Please feel free to ask questions as we go, especially considering how small the class size is today. This is a great time to kind of ask those more in-depth questions. Happy to repeat stuff. And if we get done early, we'll finish early. But with that said, we're going to bring out our magic wands. On the Spark page that we shared, you can download your resources right here. You know, magic hat, rabbit, that type of stuff. But the agenda is as follows. So basically, we're going to walk through XD. All of this will be done inside of XD. All the resources will be here, and we have pretty pictures and supporting stuff, but we're going to jump right into XD after we kind of go through what the agenda is going to be. We're going to talk about working with shapes. We're going to talk about repeat grids and one of my favorite things about XD, plugins. Plugins save you time and make things go faster, and often can save a lot of searching and headaches. There are tons of different kinds, but I'll show you a few of my favorites. Then we'll talk about creating toggle and radio buttons, toggle switches, so on-off switches, and then radio buttons. And then we're going to talk about creating dropdowns, and then we'll kind of wrap up talking about groups and masking. There's a lot of content here, but that's what we're going to be working with today. If that works for the group, is there anything? Does this sound okay as far as like a plan of action? Always like to ask. Perfect. All right, cool. Well, then you do have the file that I'm working with. So let's go ahead and we'll jump right in. I open up the XD documents. The name of it is covered by this, XD tips and tricks. So we're going to go ahead and just start with a quick basics review here. I believe all of us have, has everybody here used XD before? I recognize a few. Yeah, awesome. All right. So just real quick to kind of give a baseline for this workshop here, we're going to talk really quickly about the different modes inside of XD and then do one and then connect one illustration to a together using the prototyping menu. So we have the design menu over here. On the left-hand side, you will find the tools that you're using. We'll be using these shape tools quite a bit in the next step, maybe even the pen tool. On the right-hand side, you'll find your properties here inside of the design panel. So if I select an element, I'll see all the properties for said element. I can control transparency, all manner of things here. And then I can select elements and then adjust things and add content here. All pretty basic stuff, but basically the design mode lets you add content. The prototype mode lets you connect content together and build that prototype you want to use. So I'm going to resize my window just a little bit and minimize this one. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click on prototype mode now. And then what we want to do is we want to connect this image so that when we click on it, it takes us to this other artboard. Really easy to do. Just select the element that you want, click and drag, connect it, and then we will pick our transition types and things like that. There's dissolves and slides and things like that. So we'll go ahead and do slide left. And then we're going to go ahead and try out the interaction. So I'm going to select the artboard that I want to work with, and I'm going to hit the preview button here on the top right-hand side. Once I do that, a little preview window will show up. Zoom window is getting in my way. Apologies. See if I can grab it. There we go. Perfect. All right. So if I scroll down here, I can click on this Shiru page, and then there is our interaction. It takes us to this other page. If we wanted to create a back button here, it's pretty easy to do. We can click on this, and then instead of, I'll zoom in a little bit more, just using the Option key on Mac, Alt on Windows to scroll in. You can also pinch and pull with your trackpad if you have one. You can click on this once, it creates this kind of not connected situation here. And then on our action settings, we want the trigger to be tap. We're going to go to transition and change that transition to previous artboard. that will kind of, for lack of a better term, complete the circuit. It'll take us there and allow us to come back. So if we go to our preview again, we can scroll down to the Shiru, click on it, and then we could absolutely make all this stuff interactable if we wanted to. We haven't done that here, but if I hit the X, now it's highlighted, it'll take me back. As you're designing your prototypes, you really kind of want to complete that loop. You don't need to do it for every single thing. Prototypes aren't, unless you have like this is a full website prototype with every element that's ever going to work on it. You can rig this out for days, but a whole lot of times with prototypes, just the proof of concept is enough. All right, cool. So if we scroll down here, we're going to go ahead and jump into our first tip, and that's kind of creating shapes. We're familiar with the shape tools, probably. I think I recognize a lot of names here in this workshop, but for those who aren't, we have these shape tools, and you don't see them over here because we're in the prototype mode. We're going to go back to design. So this section will kind of be design focused. And then I created some shapes here that aren't your normal shapes that you see. And I just kind of walk through how to build them. It's pretty easy to do. If you have extra menus and things like that up, that's this libraries panel, and you can just leave that up if that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and click on my rectangle tool. Keyboard shortcut for that is R. If I press R there, it gives me the rectangle tool. And then what I will do is we can just kind of draw out a rectangle, right? Pretty easy. So you can draw out a rectangle. And then a few things we can do here. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my selection tool. And then I'm going to duplicate this this little rectangle here. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key or Option on my computer. You can also right click, copy, paste. I like this Option drag though. Just creates an identical copy. And then I can grab this guy and then rotate it. All of this probably feels pretty familiar. And then I can center this up using guides. It will snap for me. And then I have that basic plus shape. What we need to do though is we need to combine these two shapes together in order to create a single one. So to do that, we're going to highlight both of them. So using the selection tool, I'm just going to click and drag here. And this is very similar to the Pathfinder tools in Illustrator. So in your properties panel, right next to repeat grid, you will see these Boolean operators here. There's Boolean operations, what they call them. So we're going to add this, and then once we add them together, we'll see that creates one single shape. Pretty cool. If we needed something with more spokes, for example, we could have multiple ones of these. So if I Alt click and then rotate, and one kind of neat thing when you're rotating, if you hold down the Shift key, it will lock itself to, I think, 40. It'll lock itself to, not sure what the increment is. So that's 90, it's 45, maybe 15 degree increments. So you can kind of get this exactly how you want it. If that's what you wanted. Then we could duplicate another one. I think you're getting the idea though. And then we could take multiple shapes and then we could combine them. Pretty close to an asterisk at this point. Or you can just press the asterisk key, but the idea is you can combine multiple shapes. And there are other things like, if we come back here, just to kind of show them, we can do the subtract, and then that will basically subtract one shape from another shape. We have the intersect, so it'll just grab that center square and knock everything else out. And then we have the opposites. We could leave a hole there too. So if you're going for this kind of feel, we could do that as well. Awesome. Any questions on that so far? Pretty easy. Nice little thing to know that's there. Oh, I just put this back. Let's leave this done. So real quick, boom, boom, boom. Awesome. So this guy right here, let's go ahead and build this. We're going to start with the rectangle. So we're going to grab it and we're just going to draw it a square. You see stuff like this for kind of like unique profile icons like that in apps. It can be kind of cool. And there are a few different ways to approach doing it, but this is probably my preferred one, just because I can keep it consistent here. So what I'll do first is you may notice that there are widgets inside of most shapes that give you additional options like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick any one of these widgets and just drag it in a little bit so that we have all rounded sides. Cool. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select individual sides and then pull them out. So using the same widget, if you hold down the Option key or Alt on Windows, and then click and drag on that widget, we can pull this out so that it's straight. And we can do that. Cool. And that's how we create that shape. You could absolutely start just with the regular square shape and then hold the Alt key and drag it in. The only thing I don't like about that is that you don't, at least for me, I don't 100% know that this curve is the same as this curve. So by curving everything at the top and then pulling out the elements that you want, that's a little bit of a better feel for me, but you can do what you want, how you want. I just wanted to show you that you can do that. And any shapes that have widgets, you can perform that function too. Cool. Any questions so far? Awesome. All right, if you have them, bring them up. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create this kind of star right here. So pretty easy to do. We're gonna do that with the polygon tool. So that's a little triangle right here. And we're gonna start drawing out a triangle. These types of things like remind me of like drawing exercises, like draw a triangle, draw this, draw that. But it's pretty handy to kind of know how to do it, and the practice is good. So you'll notice there are a couple widgets here, but we're not going to start with the widgets first. We're going to come over here to our appearance. And under appearance, under where it says normal, you will see this little section right here. We can dial in a number. So I think this was 8 sides. Oops, so I typed in 6, 8. I return. And then I have this 8-sided figure here. And then what I can do is if I grab this widget here, this adjusts, I think they call this like the star shape or the star ratio. So this has a special widget on it that will allow you to bring this in and create this star right here. And you can determine how much of a star ratio that there is. We'll kind of go with a similar thing here. Cool. And you also have curves here as well. So if you want like a cog shape, this is a way to do it. Or for whatever reason. Yep. Cool. Making sense? Kind of cool. Like that kind of cog shape is kind of neat. But want to make sure you know how to do that. Sweet. All right. Next up, just basic shape building stuff, but I think it's useful in XD just because it's a really, if you need to make something, it's pretty easy. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this kind of chevron shape here. We're going to do that with the pen tool. So there are guides here that are going to help us out a lot. If you wanted to see a grid, you can hold down, I think it's command and then the apostrophe key, which on the QWERTY keyboard is usually right next to enter. That'll give us a grid here that we can work from if we wanted to use a grid. But I'm going to go ahead and not do that because the guides are pretty great. So using the pen tool, we're just going to make the shape. Click once. We can hold down, if we knew we wanted it to kind of snap to 45s, we can hold down 45 degrees. We can hold down shift. That makes it easy. And then we will just hold down shift again. You'll see as you move up, this blue line shows you that these guys are in direct alignment, which is exactly what we want. And we'll bring it down. We'll bring it to the center, again, holding down shift. And the shift will help us snap. And then we'll see that these are both snapped to this guy over here and the one above it, which is perfect. And bring it up to close the loop. Cool. From there, this has a border and then no fill. If I wanted to fill this with a color, it's pretty easy to do. Click on fill. Over here, pick red. I also have gradients that I can add to this as well. So if I wanted a linear gradient, like that kind of looks like looks kind of edgy and video gamey, but I can come over here and then pick a different color for the top and the bottom. And I have these little dots right here on the left and the right hand side that I can click to adjust, kind of get something that looks kind of similar there. I also have opacity that I can adjust as well. So if these need to be kind of see-through in the back, I could do that. But pretty cool stuff. We can kind of adjust this. Let's say I wanted that kind of like to be a lighter gradient here. And I can also add midpoints just by clicking in between here. So if I wanted there to be kind of like a midpoint, and then on the thing itself, we can adjust it. So if I made this a crazy color, like a purple or what have you, I can come over here and grab that midpoint and then choose how purple it's going to be or how big that center space is going to be. And we can add as many of those points as we want. Cool. Again, tips and tricks here. Cool. So far, so good. All right. Last up is this heart. Hearts are fun to make in XD. In a whole lot of app development and stuff like that, there's like a you like it or you don't type of thing. So we'll start with the polygon tool. And then under this section right here, we have the number of sides. We're going to press we're going to press the kind of left caret or the left chevron there, and then 3, like we were sending it in a text message, and it makes a heart for us. So super cool, really easy, probably the easiest one to do. Then you can go in and adjust it, but I think it's part Easter egg and part people need to make hearts often in app development. So and then you can go through, and then we'll fill this with a radial gradient. We'll grab the right side. Yeah, it'd be interesting if they had more emoji things that did more things. I wonder if they do. We'll make this kind of pink. There we go. Cool. And then with a radial gradient, we can adjust how much the second one, the second point impacts the first one, just by moving it on the actual image here. So you have a lot of different, and you can also adjust kind of what the radial portion is going to be. So if we wanted this kind of be radial, but more of a streak through the center, I don't know why you want that, but if you would, that's what you do. You can adjust the fall off and things like that. So use that radial stuff. It's pretty cool. Awesome. Any questions on that? Okay, if you have them, please feel free to keep bringing them in. Cool. So next we're going to talk about repeat grids and plugins. I think these two for this intent kind of go hand in hand here. You don't have to build exactly what I'm building, but let's say that I wanted to make this kind of like a profile image with some text underneath it. So that's kind of the goal. I have this object from up here, and I'm going to start with creating all the elements that I want in my repeat grid. So first up, I think I want a background box. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool, and then I'm going to click and drag. It's okay that I'm on top of this. We're going to move it to the back in just a moment. So I'm just going to kind of create this box here. And then what I can do is I can right click on this, and then I can hit send backward or send to back. The keyboard shortcuts for that, send backward, and you should be able to see my keyboard shortcuts right here, are command or control on Windows and left bracket. To send it all the way to the back, it's shift command left bracket. I think you can see that on my screen there, or shift control left bracket. Awesome. Okay, so I have kind of this, and then what I want to do is I want to select both of these guys, and I'll just use the selection tool to do that. And then I will center them using my align tools here. So I just want to align them vertically. That's this guy right here. Especially if you have multiple things that you need to be in a row, or multiple elements that you want to kind of make sure are lined up with each other. This is great. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and create my box for text. And we're essentially kind of just wireframing this out. And I'll use my selection tool to move it in, use my guides to help me out. Perfect. All right. So I have kind of my basic elements here. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on this background one and then give this just a fill, just go with some kind of neutral gray that's pretty common. These types of things. Cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I'm going to combine these together to create a repeat grid. So I'm going to highlight them all. And then I'm going to hit repeat grid on the top right-hand side in the properties inspector. And this is a really good illustration of what this does. Repeat grids allow you to make multiple copies of the same element and then adjust them all at the same time, which is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I can repeat either horizontally or vertically or both. So I can do either way, which is great. So when you have an element and you like how it looks, making it a repeat grid makes it really easy to kind of copy it. We'll do 3 for now. And I know it's hanging off the screen, but that's okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about plugins here. I'm going to use plugins to bring in a profile images for this. So to do that, we're going to start by going to the plugins menu. And I have a few plugins here already, but if you don't have any, we're going to go to browse plugins. Plugins are awesome and can help you do things faster inside of XD and add filler text and all sorts of stuff. So if you don't see a function for it, there's often a plugin that will do it. You'll see that there's glitch effects with one click, all sorts of things. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to browse. And we're going to look for, under all categories, the top thing is UI faces. To download that, I'll go ahead and uninstall it so you can kind of see the whole entire thing. So then I'll just hit install here. It will add that to my kit. And then under mine, you also have lorem ipsum. So I'm going to uninstall that just to do it, and I'll reinstall it. These are the two that I will use. You can, there are plugins for icons. So if you need icons, you can just grab that plugin. These are all user made and vetted by Adobe. There's tons of great stuff here. There's data visualization, integrating calendars, all sorts of stuff. So really kind of explore this if you plan on getting deep into XD. There's tons of plugins that might be able to help you optimize your workflows. So from here, with that selected, I'm going to go ahead and go to my plugins. And then I'm going to select UI faces. This will bring up our plugins menu, and then your plugin will tell you how it works. So select one or multiple shapes that you want to fill with avatars. So really easy to do. Let me drill down to it. And since this is grouped together, I do have to kind of double click to drill down into this. I'm just going to hold down so we can get this. There we go. All right, so we'll start with this. All right, so I'm going to select this first one. And then you have a bunch of sources. So they can source avatar images from Unsplash, which is royalty free, Pexels, which is royalty free, random user, or this person does not exist. That's where I tend to go. They just generate an avatar of somebody who's just, it's a computer creating faces. And it's kind of uncanny how good it is. So we're going to go ahead and hit apply randomly. It will go to it. Maybe we should have selected ourselves. Cool. And because it's a repeat grid, for every spot, it will add a person. It just randomly selected them. Kind of awesome. If you wanted to select the photos yourself, you'll see you have 3 elements selected, and then you'll have this view. You'll pick this. And again, these people do not exist. But you can just pick the 3 that you want. Just check them off. Say, I would like this one. I would like this one. And I would like this one. Apply. Kind of crazy. You didn't have to go hunting for anything. That's a great way to kind of show this is what the user interface looks like with actual user profiles in there. Kind of cool. All right, so far so good. Plugins are awesome. They're one of my favorite things. You should totally check them out. All right. So the other plugin that we have is lorem ipsum. So basically this will fill in placeholder text for us. So we're going to go ahead and just select the element that we want, hit fill placeholder, and then it will ask us what type of placeholder do we want. And there's different languages. I'm going to just go ahead and go to standard lorem ipsum. You can include line breaks. You can also end sentences with punctuation marks just to see what that feels like. You can trim the area to fit the inserted text height, and then it fills it in. So if you just need to, when you're working on your prototype and you just need to see what text looks like inside of that space, which is often something that you're doing, especially at the beginning, this is a great way to kind of accomplish that. Cool. Make sense? Any questions on plugins? That's just two of them. Those are two of the most basic ones. You can get crazy deep into how plugins work and behave if you want. There are plugins that will, like I said, link up with data visualization tools and calendars and all manner of stuff. Awesome. All right. Let me go and move my little key caster thing there. All right. So next, we're going to go ahead and move on to creating some toggle switches. So this is this. So basically, this is what we're going to try and create here. They're pretty easy to do. And there's tons more that you can do, but I just want to introduce you to, I heard there's a presentation plugin. I heard the presentation plugin is really good. Have you used it? I have not, but I'd be interested to. Whenever I've had to present in XD, usually I have XD in front of me and this has been fine. But I bet there's some great like UX and UI tools inside of there. I'd be interested to try it out. Maybe I'll download that plugin later. Great question. All righty, so we're gonna go ahead and move on, if that's okay, to toggle switches. So toggle switches are pretty basic nowadays. They used to be a little more complicated, but they're pretty easy to make now. And really, all you need to do is kind of think about what it is you want to build. And Adobe has a bunch of kind of pre-made content that you can bring in and just copy, paste, adjust, and use, which is awesome. But I would love to show you kind of how to start from scratch if you wanted to build something more for yourself or more for your needs. So I've already, if you're using the demo file, let me go ahead and leave this plugin space here. All right, if you're using the demo file, we're under 4 toggle switches. It's moving pretty quick today. We'll get stuck in the mud here in a minute, don't worry. All right, sweet. So we're gonna make this toggle switch here. To make a toggle switch, really what this is, if we break down its elements, is it's a rounded rectangle and a circle. So rounded rectangle. So we have a rectangle here. To round it, we'll just grab the widget and pull it all the way in. So it's kind of pill shaped. Your toggle switch can look like whatever you want it to look like. If you wanted your toggle switch to look like this, you could totally do that. Whatever suits your fancy. We're going to stick with this pill shape for now. And then the idea is, this is sitting behind there. So I will use that bracket right. Command and right bracket. It's going to pull it in. And the idea is I want this to kind of slide from left to right. That's kind of the idea. Cool. All righty. And then we'll work on making this a little bit more functional, actually. So let's go ahead and we will option click to kind of copy this text. And then we'll kind of make this all work together here. Okay, so first we're going to start with colors. Just to be quick, I'm going to go ahead and remove the border from this. I'm going to add a drop shadow. I'm going to, that's under effects, by the way. I'm just going to fill this with, we'll go with like a darker blue. There we go. Cool. And then for this front facing one, we'll do a border. We'll make it kind of like this gray color. No real science behind it. I'm just picking colors. And then fill, and then we're just going to darken this a little bit so that it looks like something that's not toggled on. Cool. And for this toggle switch right here, we'll keep this color kind of as is. Cool. So now that we have our elements here, all we want to do is we want to select all of them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make them a component. So a bunch of different ways to do that. Under objects, you can go to make component or hit Command K, which is what I would normally do. But there's also this component button. You can hit plus right here. A component not only groups these together, but allows these to have different component states. And component states are what we manipulate to create that toggle effect. So I'm going to go ahead and click Make Component or Command K, Control K on Windows. And that makes this a component here. It's assigned a component name over here. The beautiful thing about components is that once we make one, we can click and drag to create multiple ones, which is awesome. You can also repeat grid them or however you want to work it. So we do this once, it'll work every time we need a toggle switch that looks like this. So now what we're going to do, we have default state here. Okay. What we're going to do is up in the component section, we're going to hit the plus button and we're going to create a toggle state. So when we create a toggle state, these are simply two different things, but a toggle state adds the interaction for us. So that basically on click, it will do the it will switch to the toggle and it will do an auto animate for us and kind of slide the thing over for us, as long as all the elements that are in there that are in the original thing exist in the second thing. And the way that we have it set up, they do, we're just changing parameters. So with toggle state selected, we're going to go ahead and make the changes to this component here. So first we're going to start with this white dot here. I'm going to click down to drill into it, make sure it's selected, hold down shift, click and drag to the right, turn the toggle on. And then I'm going to go to my fill. I'm going to make it white. Cool. And that will work for that one, I think. I may move this over a little bit more. Cool. And then I'll click on this background part of the toggle. I'll go to my fill, and then I will just make this more blue to indicate that I turned it on. Then I will go to my toggle switch text right here. I'm just going to change the fill from this color to a blue. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Awesome. So now we get to test it out. So what you'll want to do first is click away from your component, click on it again, and then go back to default state. And then let's preview this. So click on the artboard name up there. Sorry, I didn't name these better. You should always name your artboards more better than I did so that they're easier to navigate. And then we'll click on this preview here. And then if I click on this, we should see that toggle switch moves from left to right, transitions by itself, and that text changes colors and it goes back and forth. Pretty awesome. You can use this for any toggled state that you have. You can have multiple of these. There's tons of stuff you can do with it, but toggle states are pretty awesome and way easier to do than they used to be. To get stuff like this, you used to have like separate artboards that did it. Now it's all in one spot. Cool. Any questions on that? All right, if you have them, feel free to put them in the chat. Can you change the shape using this? That's a great question. Let's find out. So let's say that I wanted to, I think it would have to be the same geometry, but I don't see why you couldn't. Let's try it. So I'm going to adjust this like that. Yes. It has to be the same it has to be the same thing right here. But if I made this like a hard circle, whoops, but a hard square there, and then we want to preview it. Yes, the shape will change as long as it's the same. As long as it's the same object, that will work, and it will animate through. Cool. All righty. So real quick, a radio button is even easier than that toggle switch that we made. I'm just going to undo that because I like the original one. So to make a radio button, it's 2 circles. If we look at, let's see if this one's rigged up. It may not be. That's okay. So we'll just take this that we have right here. We'll make it a component. We'll give it a toggle state. And then our toggle state will be that this has a gray fill. They both have a gray fill essentially. So we'll find a gray here. Then I'll copy this hex code. Then I'll go to the second circle. And then I'll go to the color, to the fill color. I can use this eyedropper too, which might be easier. And the cool thing about the XD eyedropper is that you can grab from anywhere, but we'll just grab this. Whoops, I think I messed up. Okay, let's see here. There we go. That's the one I want. All right. So then we'll go to, oh, it's a border. So we'll go to border. And then eyedropper that. Whoops. Don't eyedropper the same border. Eyedropper this one. Cool. And then this should be a toggle state for us. So when we go to preview. So when stuff like that happens, pretty easy to resolve, I think. So we'll just click on this again, go to the proper state. So there's a default state. We want that blue. Fill it. Boom, boom. And then we'll run it again. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's see here. Where am I at? Maybe more geometry there that I'm familiar with, but hopefully the idea makes sense. It's my component. Okay. I think I'm getting a little lost here, but hopefully you get the idea. Let's just build it from scratch, actually. So my circle, whoops, don't need to be in that group. Just click away so make sure nothing's selected if you're going to build it from scratch. You're going to grab a circle. You grab a second circle. Cool. I'm just holding down control on our option and shift to kind of maintain proportions. When I do that, I will need to press the V key to center it up. Cool. I'll give this no fill and a big border. You can adjust the border size right here. Let's make that border size 4. Cool. And then I will give this no border and a fill. I'll make that fill with black as well. These don't look aligned to me, so I'm just going to use the select them both and align tools to line them up. Maybe they are. Cool. Make it a little smaller. Sure. Great. And then we will go through that process again, select them both, make them a component, and then add a toggle state. It should just be a matter of, hopefully, this one works. Making this blue and taking this fill and making that blue as well. Cool. And then we'll try it. And hopefully it works. Yay. Not sure what's going on with that one, so I apologize about that, but I think we're good now. Cool. Any questions on that? Aside from why didn't this one work? Because I'm not 100% sure. Cool. Helpful so far? Any questions? Give a second. Grab some water. All right. Cool. As always, please put questions in the chat. We'd love to answer them as they come in. All right. So next up is Dropdown, and essentially, we're doing a lot of the same stuff here. So if you'd like to create a Dropdown menu, you can also bring stuff in as an overlay to do things, but think of this like you just want a menu to drop down when you click on it, as opposed to you want a menu to slide in and like overtake the entire document. But this is another kind of cool thing you can do. So to create a drop-down menu, what we're going to do here, is this rigged up at all? It's not, I don't think. Perfect. All right. So you can, this is a rounded rectangle with 3 lines of text and then this little twirly guy right here. We're just going to use this to create our drop-down menu. So all the elements are here. We will start by selecting them all and then making them a component. Cool. So we have a component here. And then we're going to create a toggle state. We can even add a hover state if we wanted to, but we may add that later. So let's go ahead and just toggle state for now. Actually, there's one more thing I want to get to, so we'll probably skip the hover state, but and then we will make some adjustments here. So all we need to do, and you do need to double click to get into the group so you can edit the individual elements that are in there. We want to grab this rounded rectangle in the back. What we want to do is you want to drag it all the way up. So it's nice and small like that. Cool. And then what we want to do is we want to take this option 1 and option 2. We can hold down shift to select them both at the same time. We want to lower the transparency here. So under appearance, you'll see 100%. Turn that down to 0, because again, this is our toggled state. And then we will just drag them up. And there is fine. They're just invisible. So let's take a look. Come back here, go back to our default state, and we will test out that toggle. You'll see this kind of slide in and slide out, which is super cool. If you wanted this to happen a little slower, we could go to our prototype menu. And then under our actions here, we have auto animate set up and we have ease in and out set up. That's a great question. I will show you in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and adjust the speed to 0.6 seconds and we can test it out. The cool thing about this newer version of the preview window is that you can make adjustments in real time. So if I wanted this to be 0.4 seconds, we can type in 0.4 and adjust. Cool. So the question was asked, how did this guy rotate? So if we go to our collapse menu, what happened was that we go to this element right here. All that happened was that this element's position was adjusted. So on this component state, it's like this, but on the second component state, on the toggle state, let's just do that on its own. That's a great question. If we were to do that ourselves, we would, what we typically want to do is select the element, and then we would use this button to flip it. I think I messed it up. Yeah, when you're adjusting stuff, you definitely want to be on the individual states that you're in. Cool. But yeah, you go to the toggle state, go to this, you either flip it or you can rotate it. So come back to our default state. There you go. Awesome. Very cool. Hopefully that helped. Yeah, that's what you would typically do. Awesome. Any questions on any additional questions on that before we move on? Cool. All right. So we're coming up to kind of the last bit for this workshop. We can certainly talk more and answer more questions, but we're moving pretty fast, which is great. So let's see here. What we're going to do is we're going to talk really quickly about scroll groups and masking. Scroll groups are a relatively new feature inside of XD. And what they allow you to do is that they allow you to basically choose a position and then scroll a set of elements together on a page. Used to be that you used to have to auto animate stuff like that, but now we can use scroll groups instead. So if we come down to our 06 scroll groups and masking section, we scroll down, we will find under clean products that deliver better solutions, I should say. We have all of these guys right here. So as we take a look, we'll notice that some of these are off the artboard entirely, and that's because no part of them contacts it. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that these are all a part of the same artboard. To do that, these would typically we would want to typically create a repeat grid and kind of do it that way. But since we're here and these are already made, because maybe we're working with somebody who didn't use repeat grids, what we can do is we can click and drag to select all of the elements here. And that will select them all, right? But if you had stuff that was in the way, like this is a background of the entire page, but if we were kind of working over this element, right? And we tried to kind of pick multiple things and that element kept getting selected, we can right click on any element that we want and lock it. So that way it's non-selectable. And you'll know that an element's locked because there's a little lock button on the top left-hand side. Super helpful when you're just trying to get an isolated thing, but you don't want to move anything else. But in this case, we're okay. So let me go ahead and click and drag to select all of these. And then we're going to start by grouping them together. So zoom out a little bit, just holding down Alt or Option on Windows and scrolling. Then I'm going to right click. Then I'm going to click group. The keyboard shortcut for that is Command and G. That makes them a group so that they all kind of are on the same level and lumped together so that they're all on this page. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and move this into position here, and I'm going to go ahead and preview this as well, so we can kind of see what's happening as it's happening here. All right, cool. There's our little guys. All right, so what I want to do, I'm trying to find the right place for this. This might be the right place for it. Move this over here. Lots of shuffling. So I'll move this over too, just so it's not so noisy. All right, so now what we'll do is they have these selected. We're going to go ahead and come over here to our transform menu. In our transform menu, we have scroll groups. Basically, we can have multiple elements, define the area that we want them to scroll in, and then allow them to scroll as kind of subsections of a page. This is awesome if you're trying to simulate something. If you're trying to simulate a page that has like multiple columns, like an email app, for example, would be kind of a great thing for that. Or a shopping app right here where we have kind of a slider that sits on a static web page. So we're going to go ahead and we have horizontal, vertical, and then a horizontal and vertical or panning. So we're going to go ahead and do a horizontal. Keyboard shortcut for that is Shift Command H or Shift Control H on Windows. Just going to click it though, since I'm already here. And that creates a scroll group. From here, we will define we'll define the width of that scroll group by using these little handles here. So if I wanted these to be kind of perfectly aligned so that you see 4, that's great. You'll see this is changing in real time in my preview here. I can snap this to the center. And then what I can do is I just kind of scroll through here. Once I get to this, I can scroll left and right, kind of bring it up. I have a horizontal scroll wheel on my mouse, but you could use your trackpad or what have you. And it's a really awesome way to kind of show dynamics here. And the neat thing is that like you can also have interactions here, like there are hover states right here, so that when you hover over it, it highlights white. You could absolutely have these all link out to multiple pages or overlays or anything like that. You can take any group of objects and create a scroll group out of them, which is awesome. So if you were trying to simulate like a map of an area, but you wanted to simulate that people kind of pull around and move it, you could use that pan tool here to kind of scroll around that space. Super awesome. Perfect. So
Ryan,
does
there's
that
a question if we can direct scrolling using button actions. Can you make a button scroll?
That's a great question. We could. I haven't tried it. Let's see here. That may be. The short answer is I'm not sure, but I feel like you could. Not 100% sure. It's a great question. I may have to dig into that. I feel like it would be possible. It may be a matter of approaching it differently than this. you could create the group, and then in your prototyping section, like add an action that's a function of a keyboard or trigger, and then use left and right arrows that way. But I think at this point it would be a different way to go about doing that. So yeah, I'm not 1,000% sure, but I don't think that you can control this with arrows at this point, or at least not with this prototype, because the arrows will cycle you left and right in between boards on this guy. Hopefully that answers that question. I'll dig into it some more. So that'd be really nice to know 100% if that was possible. Cool. Well, I'm glad it's still useful. Yeah, it's a relatively newer feature, so things like arrows and that type of stuff, I'm sure, will come, but they're constantly adding content to XD, like it's literally all the time. Awesome. All righty. So the last thing that I had was masks. I'm going to close this for now. So what masks allow us to do is they allow us to kind of cover a certain area of an image and then show all the other pieces. So if you've used if you use Photoshop or any other visual element, you're probably pretty familiar with masks, but there are kind of a few different ways you can play with them inside of XD here. So if we scroll down to the we use the best ingredients section, you'll notice that we have all these individual elements here. And if we scroll and look at this kind of section here, we'll notice that there are borders around different ones in different sizes. If we double click on those, we'll notice that we only see certain elements of this bigger image here. The mint is actually a pretty good example of how you would do that. The masks were used to kind of do that with these images, so we can hide and show specific parts that we want to see. When we generated those frames for those profile pictures, we essentially created a mask using a shape. So let's go ahead and break down how we might create a mask here. And with these masks, if I want to change this coconut root and cacao, I don't see any cacao here, unless I don't know what it looks like, which is entirely possible. But if I wanted to change this cacao to tomato, I double click on this, move the tomato up, just type in the word tomato or whatever it was. So let's talk about how to make that mask. So it all starts with a shape. So we would bring in our image here. I'm going to grab a shape. Let's say that I wanted a circle. I'm going to click and drag that circle. Kind of make it roughly the size of the thing that I want. And I will select them both. And then I have this option to mask with shape, or Shift Command M, Shift Control M on Windows. And that will create this shape here. And I can double click on the shape to make any adjustments that I want. Move it around, kind of pick different elements. And again, any shape will work for this section here. So super cool. If we wanted to make a custom shape, we could do that too. So if I wanted to, we already built some shapes earlier. So if I wanted to come over here and then grab this heart, I can copy it, Control C, holding down Option, scroll, and then holding on the space bar to pan. Then come down here, paste that heart, resize it, make it whatever size makes sense. This might not be the perfect illustration of this, but it'll work. And then we select them both, Shift Command M, and we mask that shape. Like I said, not perfect. Once it's inside of here though, we can double click on the image, then we have this kind of semi-transparent piece. We can kind of move it around. We can grab a corner and scale it up pretty easily. And the benefit to doing this is that you have and while the benefit with this particular image is that we can kind of move around and pick the different things, and we only have one image that we're bringing in. But a more kind of standard benefit would be that you have the opportunity to frame the element in a way that you want to frame it. And then things like, and we can adjust kind of the appearance of it and the opacity over here. But yeah, cool. And that's creating shapes using shapes to create masks is going to be the most typical way that you do it. If you wanted to get crazy about it, like let's say that we wanted to mask this arm, we could grab the pen tool. And if any of you are familiar with Photoshop or Illustrator, we could kind of create the shape like this. I'm holding down the Option key to kind of bend the handle here to control the angle. So if we were in a pinch, let's see if we can finish this real quick, actually. And then let's see here. We can adjust that just a little bit. And we could totally work it this way. But if you're at this point, if it were me, I would prefer bringing it into a Photoshop because there are some great selection tools here that will help me make a less coarse selection. And I'll zoom in here, just holding on the Option or Alt, click and drag to zoom in. I know that's not right, but I'll get it in a second. I'll grab this handle here, kind of get it close. Move this guy up. And then kind of continue on. But the idea is just to show that if you wanted to mask this way, we absolutely could. But if you're looking to kind of have a transparency, like if you wanted like a drink with something splashing out of it to kind of be transparent, I would absolutely make that element, if it were me, inside of Photoshop. Oh, this isn't too bad. I'm just going to complete the loop there. This is now a shape. Highlight them both. Mask shape. Boom. So in a pinch, if you needed to, and this was the only thing you were working with, or the only thing that you had time to work in, you could go in and manipulate that. And then it is a shape still. So we can go in and correct any errors that we have. Kind of double click, and then you get these handles that you can kind of hold down Option or Alt to break and then adjust. But with that selected, then we can kind of put this arm right here. I guess this is one element. I didn't know that, kind of on top of whatever we wanted. So you can absolutely work that way if you want to. And regardless of whether you do this inside of Photoshop or Illustrator or inside of XD here, if that's what makes sense for you, highly recommend getting familiar with at least the basic functions of the pen tool. It is a great element to add to your repertoire. It'll save you a ton of headache, especially when you need to be precise. And once you learn it in one tool, it basically functions the same in all the other ones. So yeah. So that was quite a bit, I feel. What questions do we have about this or the pen tool or masking or anything we covered today?